Hey, what's up? It's Mike, and this is Reckless Palate, where I give you the tools to find the confidence to cook more creatively and spontaneously in your kitchen. Today we're going to be talking about taking the guesswork out of cooking, and the way you do that is by using a thermometer. There are a lot of different types of thermometers, as you can see here. The one that we're going to be talking mostly about today is the good old analog instant read thermometer. Some of the other types of thermometer that we use are oven thermometer. I find this to be very important, and as you can see, mine's had a lot of use. It's pretty grimy. There's also the digital instant read thermometer. A lot of these are kind of sketchy. This one's pretty high-end, and it's very highly accurate. It's also very highly expensive, so if you don't want to spend the type of money on this thing, I would go with the good old analog instant read thermometer, which I'll talk more about in a little bit. And finally, we have the probe thermometer, which is used to put the probe in a hot place like an oven or a smoker or a grill with the lid on or off, whatever. And you can keep track of the temperature of the food as it cooks without having to get your hand in there and keep probing it. You just probe it once and you're good to go. A lot of people have asked me how I know when food's done. How do you know your chicken's done? How do you know your steak's done? Well, some people do the pokey thing. I don't know if you know the pokey thing, but you can poke at meat, and depending on how fleshy it feels and how firm it feels is how close to done it is. That works sometimes, and you have to be really familiar with how the meat feels as it's cooking. But if you don't want to guess, I hate guessing. I do the pokey thing too sometimes, just to kind of get an idea of where I'm at, but I've had the pokey thing backfire on me. I'm like, oh, this is definitely done. It's pretty firm. And yeah, it was firm on the outside, and then it was like bloody on the inside. So I always turn to my good old instant read thermometer. It tells you every time exactly what the internal temperature of the meat is, or whatever you're cooking. It works on bread. It's great for that type of stuff. It tells you exactly what the internal temperature is, so you don't have to guess, okay? You can just pop this in there and, 130, probably about 10 degrees to go until I have a medium-ish steak. That's so much easier than, I don't know, it feels like my palm, I guess, you know? So anyway, take the guesswork out of cooking. Get yourself an instant read thermometer. I bought this one online. You can get it at Amazon, or I think you can get them at your grocery store, honestly, in the aisle that has all the little kitchen gadgets and stuff. There is one thing that I strongly suggest you get, though, and it took me a little while to find one that had this feature, and that is the calibration feature. Some instant read thermometers don't have a calibration feature. It's got a little hexagonal nut right at the bottom of the dial, and the little case has a little hexagonal wrench kind of built into it and a hole, and you just pop it through there and you can turn the adjustment nut and calibrate your thermometer. Very important, because if you drop this thing on the floor once, that happened. It's probably out of calibration. And then you're trying to judge if your meat's done and it turns out like dry, or it turns out rare or raw or something you don't want. It should be accurate. And I'm going to show you how to do that today. One more thing to know about using an instant read thermometer is that unless it's a digital thermometer like this one or a probe thermometer like this one, you probably are going to have to locate the read point. It's not the very tip of the thermometer. If you just take this thing and pop it in the meat like that and look at it, you're going to be like, oh, it's only like 100 degrees. That's weird. Or you're going to be like, oh God, it's 180. Pull it out now. And lo and behold, way there in the center of your roast, it's like 70 degrees, which is raw. and you just took the temperature of the oven because the read point is actually right here. There's a little divot about 1/3 of the way up, and that is where the read point is on the thermometer. If you don't get that read point, that divot, into the thickest part of the meat or bread or whatever you're taking the temperature of, you're not going to get an accurate temperature. This is not going to tell you the accurate temperature. Only this little read point is, okay? So very important. Know where the read point is, and you have to kind of estimate if you're putting it in a steak or a roast or something like that. Look at where the read point is and imagine it being in the center of the roast. When you pop it in there, you want it to be right in the middle, the thickest part all the way in the middle, because that's going to be the coolest part, and that's the part you need to measure, because if the coolest part isn't done yet, it's not done yet. Okay, so always know where your read point is. To calibrate the instant read thermometer, use the case with the wrench built into it and the hexagonal nut on the bottom of the thermometer dial. Insert the thermometer through the hole in the case and align the hexagonal nut with the wrench in the case. Then submerge the thermometer probe into a glass of ice water. If we measure the ice water with the thermopen, which is highly accurate, you can see it's about 34 degrees, just 2 degrees above freezing. Once the thermometer dial has acclimated to the ice water, twist the dial head until the needle points at the proper temperature. The thermometer now reads the correct temperature. All right, you see me doing the finger poke there? You've probably seen people do the finger poke. Maybe you do the finger poke, medium rare, blah, blah, blah. I'm just using this to get an idea of if I'm anywhere close to being done, and the chicken does feel firm. So I'm going to take the temperature, okay? This is a crucial thing here. I'm not going to guess based on the feel of it. When you are cooking a lot and you get to know the feel of meat and how done it is by poking at it, feel free. But even I don't cook enough at home to be able to tell if meat is done. I use a thermometer every time. There's no guessing at all. Okay. I got my instant read thermometer here. I'm going to identify my read point here, the little detent or indentation, I guess, in the thermometer, and I'm going to go right into the thickest part there, so nearly up to my finger there, and I'm going to just check that. Okay. Looks like we're about there. Double check the smaller breast, okay. Read point there, so probably right about there. Beautiful. Okay, looks like we're about there. Okay, there you have it, the instant read thermometer. We would have probably overcooked this chicken if we didn't have this bad boy, or it could have turned out raw. It would have been all bad. In any case, no guesswork anymore. The instant read thermometer saves the day. All right, this looks delicious. I'm going to share it with Adrian. Until next time, cook reckless, y'all.